Hello, vibrant beings. Welcome to episode 19 of The Switch. If you are new to this series, it is a collection of interviews of personal true stories of individuals switching to a vegan or a raw vegan lifestyle. If you don't know me already, I'm Cseuz, and I'm a holistic health coach, and I'm also an advocate for fasting and a holistic raw vegan lifestyle. Today, we are coming on board with Michele at Vegan Michele on Instagram, and we're just waiting for her to pop on. Today is April 1st, 2021, and I'm hearing Michele Spachina.
Hi. Good job.
That one.
You did great.
Just waiting for your video to pop on too. So we had a lovely conversation yesterday, and we heard all about her vegan switch. And if you haven't checked that out yet, that's posted on my Instagram stories and to be in the YouTube in the future. And welcome, we see you.
Hello. Hi. Yay. I'm glad.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
Good. So, again, we're going to do a little intro to people because maybe they haven't heard the yesterday's interview. So if you wanted to kind of give us a little bio or something about your passions.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name's Michele, and if you didn't watch yesterday, I've been vegan since 2009. I come from a background of performing professionally as a singer and dancer. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years, and found kind of the path to veganism through learning about detoxification and just the wonderful things that can come from eating plants. And I have had 2 vegan pregnancies, and I have 2 vegan children. And I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, but I work as a holistic nutritionist now since I'm no longer performing. But I do that. And so I'm really happy to be here. I think we had a wonderful conversation yesterday, and I'm really grateful to you, Tina, for putting this series on. And I think it's really fun to see where people are coming from and kind of get a little backstory on what makes them who they are. So thanks for having me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, learning about people's history and their perspective is really eye-opening, and it really anchors in like why something's important for them too.
Yeah, totally.
So what are you grateful for today?
I was thinking about this. I am grateful that I was able to move my body this morning, and I'm grateful that all my limbs work because I cleaned my house and now it's nice and clean, and I got to keep the windows open while I did that. So just the little things. I always want to think about what I'm grateful for, and those are some things today. How about you?
Thanks for asking. I'm grateful that I am experiencing a lot of curiosity about your journey. So that's kind of bubbling up as inspiration too. And I'm grateful for colors and how they lighten up environment. And I'm grateful for my health today because some people I love have gotten hurt, and it just makes me, it's a good reminder for me to not take anything for granted. And yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that about your loved ones, but I totally understand, and I'm grateful for my health too.
Yeah. And going on that note, and along with our conversation, actually, I'm grateful for our body's innate wisdom to heal itself. Like when the right, things like time and rest and whatever the other things are that we're going to get into, because you're very passionate about detoxification. Like, yes, like all those things add up to this body being so amazing and wise and capable. So I'm grateful that that's a reality for me because it wasn't before.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if people watching haven't heard your background, I think it's amazing that you were able to heal HPV, and amazing to, just really find the best version of yourself by, one of the sources being the foods that you put in your body. I mean, how awesome is that we've been given this gift to truly live the best way that we possibly can by the things that grow on trees and the things that grow in the ground, and they were there all the time, and that's what we're supposed to stick to.
So going along with that, what would you say like your take or definition or meaning is of what is raw veganism? Like if someone had never come up to you, had never heard of it, and they came up to
Mhm.
you, what does that mean? What are you doing? How
Yeah,
does that define it for them?
I think, the simplest way to say it is, truly eating the foods that are growing, in on the earth. So, if you look at places that are tropical and you see that fruit is constantly growing on the trees and that the majority of it is edible, I mean, that's a good indicator that we're supposed to be eating that. If you look and see that things can be are growing naturally in the ground or can be cultivated in the ground, that's another great thing that constitutes raw veganism. Of course, there's the aspect of having the uncooked food or less than 118 degrees that provides you with so much vitality. And I mean, if you just even show a photo of somebody who's a raw vegan next to somebody who's on a standard American diet, there's no denying that that it works, because you can see the brightness in the eyes, the clear skin. You can see the vibrancy coming out of those people because they're eating living foods. And so I think, in a nutshell, it's eating living foods. It's eating fruits and vegetables that are in their natural state, not denatured. It's having sprouts, it's having small amounts of nuts and seeds, and just keeping it extremely simple. Again, I think people coming to just a vegan diet from a standard American diet might think that's complicated, but then they realize that it's really not complicated. And then the jump from a vegan diet to a high raw vegan diet or a vegan diet or raw vegan diet it's just another jump. The more that you kind of learn, the more you realize that it's actually keeping it more simple every single step of the way. That
Yeah.
was a really long-winded answer. Hopefully somebody
No,
wouldn't be scared about that.
I think it's definitely helpful and informational for people. And it's your truth. So it's like, that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people are going to get a context of where you're coming from
Yeah.
without getting into the story yet, what year did you get introduced to raw foods? And are you coming from a high raw? Have you experienced all raw? Like, yeah, just so we
Yeah.
know your context.
Absolutely. So I was introduced to veganism by raw vegans, and I have gone periods of time where I'm completely raw, and I've gone periods of time where I've added in cooked food. I don't feel like I've ever been just a cooked food vegan, because from the get-go, what's vegan? It's plants. Okay, let me eat the plants. And the thing that made the most simple sense to me was salads and fruits and smoothies and juices, and knowing what those can do for your body. So I'd say I'm definitely high raw, and that definition has lots of leeway in it. And there's been times in my life when I will have a cooked meal twice a week. There's been times in my life when I have a cooked meal every evening, and I keep the rest of my food raw. And there's times when, if I'm focusing on something specifically health related, like I am right now, where I've gone back to raw, because I really, without, shying anybody away from it, I do believe that a raw living diet, and I've always felt this way, is a huge component to health. And as you do research on that, you find that that's actually the truth. However, when I work with people, the majority of people that I work with are obese or very overweight. That connection from coming from a standard American diet full of processed food, the jump from that to vegan can seem overwhelming. And the jump from vegan to raw can seem overwhelming. So I never, in this conversation or ever, want to make anybody feel bad about where they are, or want to make anybody feel like I'm superior because what I eat. That's never, ever my intention. I think it's good to help people where they are, and help them, if that means adding vegetables into your diet where you've never had that before, or having a tiny baby salad with the rest of your dinner. Like there's so many progressions along the way on everybody's individual journey to health. And so I just, anybody who's watching, please know that I come from a place of acceptance and love wherever you're at. And I know there's always room to grow for each and every one of us. I don't know everything. Just because, I'm eating a raw vegan diet right now doesn't mean anything. We're all on the same level. We're all learning. So.
Yeah, I love that, where it's like honoring what step you're at and taking
Mhm.
action there, and that doing that as an act of self-love, because sometimes it actually isn't loving to take too big of a jump, and it's totally
Mhm.
individual, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, there are absolutely some people who've learned about it and never looked back, and that's awesome. I think that's a huge testament to their character of strength and just who they are. And some people try it and maybe they don't have the understanding or the knowledge of what it takes to get enough nutrients in, enough calories, and 2 days in they give up and they feel bad about themselves or they feel shame. And it's not. It's just not about that. We're all just trying to nourish our bodies the best way that we can. But for me, intuitively, I know and have always known and have always been really drawn to eating fully raw, because I know doing that is where I can get the most out of my life, basically.
Yeah. And how do you, just out of curiosity for people
Mm-hmm.
to hear, how do you know that? Because you try.
Well, I don't know. It always just made sense to me. And the things that I gravitate towards eating on a daily basis are things that keep me hydrated. And I can tell a huge difference when I've had in a day a smoothie, fresh fruit, a fresh pressed juice, and a big salad, as opposed to when I eat a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. And then I have a sandwich for lunch, and then I have rice and beans for dinner. I feel dehydrated. I feel heavy. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. If you're coming from a place where that seems like super healthy, go for the sandwich, go for the rice and bean, go for the oatmeal. It's just, I know I've experimented enough to know what my body feels the best at. And I feel best when I'm super hydrated. If you have this lightness that is just undeniable, really. And yeah, so I think you can feel the difference, and you can feel it as you're eating. If you have a juice, you feel that zzz, you feel that energy come. And if you have a giant bowl of salad, you also feel that energy come. You're full because of the volume of it, and yet you're still light. You can go and do some exercise after if you wanted to. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. There's a big, big word you said, and you said because I experimented.
Yeah,
And, having the experience of it is so different than maybe knowing. Like,
true.
I feel like it really knows it when you actually experience it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so having that and experimenting, like finding out,
Hmm.
different ways and trying out different things. And some
Yeah.
people can see, oh, well, that's, I'm failing, but actually you're just experiencing different experiences, and it's all feedback. So,
Totally. I think
you know,
failure is the best way to figure out anything, because when you fail, you realize, maybe where your trigger times of the day are. You realize, oh, this agrees with me. Oh, do I need to pay attention to food combining? Do I not? Like, all of those things you only know by trying, experimenting, and basically failing.
yeah, that's a good point. Now, so we delved into your story yesterday, and it's interesting because you kind of have two different journeys, although it kind of came to you at the same time. That's why we're doing two different episodes. And
Hmm.
so today we're focusing on the effects of your raw vegan lifestyle versus the cooked vegan lifestyle.
Hmm.
And yesterday we were focusing on the cooked aspects, but did you have any preconceived notions about raw veganism? Had you ever even heard of it before your friends,
I
told you?
hadn't, yeah, I hadn't heard of it before. Actually, that's not true. I remember watching, I don't know where, somewhere, some documentary that had Gabriel Cousins in it. And I was like, what? You don't eat cooked food? What do you eat? Salad? And just being really surprised and just taking note that, wow, he looks kind of more alive. And even, seeing some, I think in that same documentary, I don't know what it was, but seeing some people, I'm like, are those people crazy, or they just have a lot of energy? So maybe a little bit of judgment there.
Yeah.
But then, I didn't, look into it again until my friends showed me. But my friends, knowing what the girl of the couple had been dealing with cystic acne, and that's, I think, where she started on her journey to learn about raw foods, and just seeing like the eyes, man,
Yeah.
the eyes are unbelievable, and there's no denying what's going on in your body when your eyes are super clear like that. You're obviously eating raw. And I was very drawn to that, like, in a kind of vain way as well. Like as a performer, like you have to look your best. I was like, I want those eyes. I want my body to be clean.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and
So,
even just the look of it on the outside is showing
mhm.
what's inside of like that
Yes.
mojo and that
Glowing
energy.
skin. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Totally.
So you kind of had this idea maybe they're off their rocker. They're a little bit crazy and nutty, but also it sounds like you're super attracted to it. And it's,
Yeah.
it's funny. I also heard about Gabriel Cousins, and he was a big influence for me too. So that's cool. So then we did touch upon it, but we're creating a new conversation, right? So
Yeah.
how I remember you saying that you did incorporate a lot of raw into your diet from the beginning.
hmm
Maybe to be able to distinguish, when was the first time you tried 100%? I'm
Okay.
getting quotes here because some things like
Yeah.
are very on the borderline. Some people say, seaweed is actually what is it, a protist or something, and it's not actually a plant, or like all these
Yeah.
different things.
I'm
But
definitely probably in that regard when you're looking at like 100% purist. I probably have never been 100% raw then.
yeah, that's what I'm
because
just
I
saying.
have
Like,
had, yeah.
when did you actually try all raw for?
Yeah. I tried that again. I don't know if this was 2014 or 2000, must have been 2014. I was leaving for a contract, a performing contract, and I was not going to be with my husband for 3 weeks. And I just, like for months before this contract, I was like, I want to be raw. I want to be raw. And every day I would fail. Every day I would be raw till dinner. And then I wanted something cooked. And I just thought, okay, if I'm away from my husband, I didn't have kids at the time. I was like, if I'm away from my husband and I'm the only one in the kitchen during rehearsals, then I can do this. I just really felt it's not true that you're held back by other people because you're the only one who puts food in your mouth. However, sometimes that can be a stumbling block, and it definitely was for me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to be alone they put you up in these apartments with full kitchens and everything like that while you're in rehearsal. And I said, this is my chance. 3 weeks, I'm doing it. I'm going to go raw. And I did. And the first couple days, it was really hard. I knew already that I wanted to keep it low fat, but I found it really hard to do that because I just wanted like something comforting and warm. And so I ended up eating more nuts and seeds than I had planned to. And I would track it in Chronometer and realize, oh man, I'm eating too much fat. How do you do this? It was hard. And then just kind of balancing it out. And I felt the effects pretty soon in. I mean, in rehearsals, you're dancing and singing 8 hours a day, and it's very strenuous. And I felt nourished. I felt hydrated. I felt everybody gets sick or injured because the pace is just intense. And I didn't get sick. I didn't get injured. My voice was in great shape. I was, I didn't have a car, so I was quite far. I think the only grocery store was like a Walmart, maybe like 3 or 4 miles away. And I was like, well, I'm just going to walk to get my groceries. I walked like 10 miles without even like feeling tired. I was like, what is this? I mean, obviously we're still humans. It still makes us, we have limitations, but it's amazing the jump in energy that I felt at that time. And just also at the same time, just the cleansing that was happening, just a lot of poop was going on. And I was just like losing a ton of weight. And I mean, that wasn't why I, went out I was already in great shape, and I just dropped any excess weight. And it was amazing. It was fantastic. And throughout the rest of that contract, I was primarily raw. I think I had potatoes here and there because sometimes on the ship, it's just really hard to find good produce. But along with that, I had two other friends, and we just went raw together. And the jump was amazing. You could really, really feel it. But also then as time went on, then I was allowing the dinner to come back cooked, and I kind of went back to that. So up and down.
Well, so you did it with a person, you did it with a friend, and you did it.
Initially, I just did it alone, but they saw
Oh,
the
alone.
results, and then they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Got it. Okay, so you
Yeah.
did it alone in your home environment when people were
hmm
away and your
hmm
partner, and then you did it again with your friend, and we're doing it on your ship, the ship where you
Yeah.
worked. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So what year was that when you were
I
alone?
think it was 2014. Yeah.
2014? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, going, imagine us time traveling back to that moment, and it's before you decided, yes, I'm going to do this. What do you feel like were some of like the motivating factors to actually want to try all in, like,
Hmm.
because some people are just happy, doing raw till four, or like, different
Yeah.
variations of that, or eating just high raw. What was your impetus?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that I had noticed a lot of really great benefits from eating mostly raw and then having like a cooked meal either here or there or every night. But I was like, I still don't, I still don't have that glow that the raw food people have. And also, I had gotten in a horrible habit of having like way too much coffee. And I was like, I want to stop drinking coffee as well because I know this is not doing me any favors. I just wanted better digestion. I wanted to see where I could take it. And so that was really the impetus for me wanting to do it. It sounded a little bit vain, but it's true. I just want to see, can my skin glow? Can my eyes? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that's not going to happen in 3 weeks, but you do feel a big difference. And I was dealing with a lot of hormonal acne, and my skin was a mess growing up. And I never got any compliments on my skin, but 3 weeks into being raw in that little experiment that I did, people were complimenting me on what my skin looked like. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really working. Like, I was the person who bought all the lotions and the potions and the acids and burned my face off to,
Oh,
to start over. I know. All along I was being peddled a lie. You don't need any of that. You just need to do it from the inside out.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. When you shared that, I remember the first 2 weeks I went raw, and like near
Hmm.
the end, I remember going to the mirror and staring at my face and taking like selfies of like my eye and like my
Hmm.
skin. I was just so amazed how much it changed,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
just like, it almost was like looking at it with a microscope with the camera. I could I was just like amazed.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
even
And
in a
that's
few weeks, you can see the difference.
absolutely. And I think, the eyes always bring me back. And I was always interested in, I don't know if it's iridology or iridology. What is it?
I think it's iridology is what I've heard.
Okay. I was always interested in that. And I was so amazed that like you could truly see all these parts of your bodies that maybe had weaknesses or were in a chronic state. And I always was like, oh my gosh, if my eyes look tired, I know something's not right inside. And my eyes looked tired a lot. So like you said, seeing those visible changes and like being like, oh my gosh, this is my body and these are my eyes. And like, it's not what I saw before. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, some people could have said, oh, you're just overworking yourself, and that's why your eyes and body are tired. What made you believe it was possible to actually gain these results from a diet perspective or like food?
Yeah. I think that's very possible as well because I was working my physical body a lot. So I may have just been tired, but I don't think that was the case because of all the things that I'd read. Like I said in the last interview, I love to learn. Once I started realizing that this was a different way to live, I was like hooked on learning. I was book after book after book after reading a book, rereading it again to understand the parts I didn't understand, reading anything by Doug Graham, reading what's her name? Tonya Zavasta, maybe. Learning about her stuff, learning about anything I could devour, I was doing so. And I just was so amazed that people could change from the inside out by the foods and the herbs that they ate. I was just like, this is so cool. I'm in. I want to do this.
And you already getting benefits right from your vegan switch, which
Yeah.
included already a lot of raw. So it's like you could notice that
Yeah, it's
experience.
just like next level. What can I do? Hmm.
It's like, wow, this is already happening. Let's see how much more I can glow.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'm curious, what were some of those books I know you said Dr. Graham, um,
Yeah.
Tanya.
Zavasta. I could be
Yeah.
saying her name incorrectly. I believe she has a YouTube channel that I don't think she had when I originally found her, but it's called Beautiful on Raw. She's like 60 years old and her skin looks like porcelain. And who else? Marcus Rothkrantz, like I mentioned, I read as many books of his that I could find. Dr. Jensen, Arnold Ehret, who else? Anything by Andreas Moritz.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
gosh,
Did
I
you
don't
ever
know.
read Gabriel Cousins' books?
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't even think to look at his books. Yeah,
there was
I'll
one
have
I
to look.
read called Spiritual Nutrition that really, um, I guess, inspired me. Yeah.
I'll look into that because I do believe there's a huge, like we talked slightly about yesterday, when you eat this way consistently, your mind is open and clear to be able to hear, whatever it is that you believe, whether it's, whatever it is that you believe. I believe that you have this newfound focus and clarity to be able to hear um, more of the spiritual for sure.
Mm. So, okay, so you got all, it sounds like this spark of knowledge was just burning, and it's like you really found your passion and you were just head on into it. Like, what is this? How does this explain this? And like going from the signs, which information and book and
Yeah.
sign was coming to you to try out things. And like what were some of those initial benefits that you started feeling right away? Like I
Um,
remember you talking about your legs cramping a lot. Did you have any
oh
ailments?
yeah.
Did you have anything like that clear up?
Well, I do have scoliosis, which I also believe can be
Oh,
healed.
wow.
But as you know, so as a performer, you got to move your body all the time. So I was constantly doing like hours of yoga and hours of just stretching and rolling myself out before I was ready to perform because I had a lot of inflammation. So yes, absolutely. Inflammation was something that I saw go down pretty quickly. I saw flexibility increase extremely quickly. I couldn't believe just having, feeding my muscles and my cells with hydrating, nutritious food and getting rid of the waste, how big of a difference that made in the flexibility. I was dead set on straightening my spine. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm going full force again. I don't know if it can possibly happen, but I do know that you can regenerate cells and you can regenerate tissue, and you may even be able to regenerate bone. And so I'm not giving up on that, on that. But so just a lot less pain from this inflammation and from the scoliosis as well. Skin cleared up really, really well. So much better digestion, more energy. I was ready to wake up earlier and get things done and ready to, like I said, walk effortlessly 10 miles, not even think about it. I had more time to, my memory was sharper when it came to memorizing lyrics. And, when you go and you do a rehearsal, typically you have to learn a full show within a week. And sometimes that's really challenging depending on your track. And if it's a heavy track, meaning that you have a lot of material or you're in the show a lot. And a lot of in that time, I was one of the leads. So you have to learn a lot. And I've been doing this my whole life. So you get in the, just like an accountant knows how to do accounting, I would be horrible at it. That was my focus, but it was so much easier to memorize and just be sharp. And gosh, I don't ever want to not be sharp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And then have
Mhm.
you noticed like long-term things like because those all happen right away? Like did you
Mhm.
notice something happening over the years of doing it that has adjusted?
I
Or is
think
it
the
just that
biggest
all of that
thing,
amplified?
all of that amplified, and like I said, I'm not raw all of the time, so I think there's even more to go. I think there's a lot more that can be at the next level, and I really feel called to fully raw, especially as I get older, because I just see the vitality in these older raw people who've been doing this long term, and that's what I want. I really, really want that. But long term effects, yeah, I think it's all those things amplified, and sometimes just being on my own. I kind of live no in the middle of nowhere, so I'm just with my kids a lot, and when I finally go and see people, I realize that they're very dulled down by the food that they eat, and nothing to them, of course, like we're all where we're at. But I then am able to reflect and be like, man, I really do know that this food is working, because I have quite a bit of energy when in a typical situation. I'm not sleeping all the time because of my kids waking up at night, and I know that the food is really the fuel for that as well.
Yeah. Yesterday you mentioned that even your children are eating a lot of raw. Do you want to
Yeah.
share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've definitely had, my parents have always been pretty okay with my food choices and everything. But my husband's family is from Poland, and they were very concerned about the kids not having cow's milk, not eating meat, not getting enough protein. And they've been completely converted because they see how healthy our kids are, and they see that they're thriving. They don't look sickly at all. They, and so I think that was I was to the place where that kind of pushback didn't bother me, but I know that it can also be really annoying if this is like, when you're just starting out and someone's telling you about your kids, well, you have to eat meat, or you have to have animal sources, or you have to have, I don't know, if you think about it, like, what's more natural for a child to eat as their first food? Is it a piece of fruit or an avocado, or a box of man-made baby oatmeal or something like that? What is the more natural choice? And I look at my kids, and I placed, when they were really young, I mean, obviously I'm breastfeeding, and once they're ready to eat, let me just clarify that I'm not feeding them super duper early. Once they were ready to eat or showing an interest, what are they grabbing for? They're grabbing for the juicy peach. They're grabbing for the avocado. They're grabbing for the banana, and they eat a ton of fruits and vegetables. My son does have oatmeal, and that's where I kind of hide hemp seeds and flax seeds in, and I do that in his smoothie as well. And my 8-month-old, of course, she's still breastfeeding, but she loves green smoothies, and she loves fruits and vegetables. They know what you show, and that becomes normal to them. They have no point of reference. It's like you're programming a computer when you're raising a kid, and so that's what they know. So that's food. And I obviously, I will, when they have questions, talk to them about it, and they're going to live their own life when they have the wherewithal to make those decisions. But as long as we live together, and I'm nourishing them, I'm going to feed them with the best possible food to give them the best possible life that they can have in so many aspects.
Mm, that's beautiful. Now, how did they react to salads, or do you give them
Well,
zoodles or?
yeah, salads are tricky. My son, he used to eat everything, every single thing that I gave him, but as a toddler, he wants to express his individuality. So if I do any kind of greens, I'm mostly shoving them into juices or smoothies, and then on occasion, when he wants avocado, I'll mash. My husband just said, "Amen." I'll mash in some really finely chopped leaves. He's getting better at detecting those, but I'll put that in avocado. There's a dressing I make that he really enjoys, so I'm able to kind of put that together for him. I have to choose my battles, because
Yeah.
I know what I want them to have, and he also has his right to refuse that as well. So it's just a matter of constantly presenting it. I do like a plate of, one of his favorites. Like, he loves to eat pasta, so I'll do pasta, but I'll also do apples, and I'll do he eats sauerkraut that we make at home. So some sauerkraut or just something. So even if he doesn't eat it that first time, I think they say it takes like 15 times for a child to even want to taste something that they're kind of resistant to. So just keep pressing on. I know he will eventually.
I love that. Really getting in the greens through smoothies and juices, smart way.
Hmm.
That's kind of
Yeah.
sweet still,
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
totally.
love that.
Yeah, but he's having kale and Swiss chard and collards, and I know he's getting his nutrients in, even if it's just in a smoothie or a juice right now. So it's okay.
Yeah. So, how's your like whole transition into increasingly more and more or all raw. What kind of challenges have come up for you, and how do you have, like, what have you learned from them? How have you
Yeah.
overcome them?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge is I really enjoy cooking. I love it as an art, and I think it's really fun to make new recipes. And I get a lot of joy by making food for people and having them over, and them being able to try something and not being vegan and being like, wow, this is amazing. I never thought I could eat this, or I thought it was awful to be vegan. This is actually good. So I'd say that that's a big struggle for me, or a big hurdle for me, because I enjoy cooking and enjoy making recipes, but I also know how I feel, and the difference between those two. So I'd say that. I'd say, you know, when my family wants to eat something cooked and I'm focused on being raw, that can sometimes be hard. But again, I think it all comes down to the why. Why am I doing this? And I can say that that's the hugest motivator. I can say that right now I have a big why of why I'm doing it. And it makes it so much easier. When you don't have a reason why you're doing it, something, or, anything, then it's easier to just kind of get lost and get off track.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing about what's
Yeah,
going
I'd
on now and what your why is?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit embarrassing, but I do want to share it because I know that it can happen to a lot of women after giving birth. I believe, let me just backtrack this. I believe there's probably some sort of weakness that I had within my body that could have contributed to this. But with my first birth with Eli, it was very long, like 17 hours long, 14 hours, somewhere around there. And there was a point when I was in the pushing phase that he got stuck in my pelvis, and his head was halfway out and he was turning blue. And, with the midwives, everything's very natural. We go in the timing of the body. But they said, if you don't push now, he's going to be in some distress. So pushing
Yeah.
him out, I had quite a lot of tearing, and I also got a prolapse. So I had never even heard of this, except I'd heard of like a prolapsed colon, which is when it drops down. But I had a prolapse of the uterus, the rectum, and the bladder from that intense portion of pushing. And again, nothing I'd ever heard about happening. And it happens to a lot of women after long labor or hard labor. So it was a little bit devastating initially, and just understanding like what the heck. And there's 4 levels of it. It goes from one being the least, one being the least of the prolapse, and 4 being the worst prolapse, where 4 sometimes people's organs are actually out of their vagina.
Wow.
And I know it's horrible.
So everything
And
just drops.
it's almost like I've gone to like a woman's physical therapist, which she deals with, all the women organs, and they do like for rehabilitation, a lot of Pilates, which is wonderful. I love Pilates. I think it's hugely transformative for this. But also they do a lot of, sounds weird, internal manipulation. So just like you would go to a physical therapist if your wrist was hurt and they have to massage, they do that internally. And I had a lot of scar tissue and tearing and the prolapse itself. So that was a really devastating thing. And I did rehabilitate myself quite a bit with Pilates. I'm a Pilates instructor, have been for like 20 years, and kind of found a new normal where I was able to rehabilitate my pelvic floor and feel like I was in a good place. When I got pregnant again, it was, my kids are really close in age, so it was not that long. And I had to work through a lot of fear in my pregnancy of that getting worse, and just trying to I breathe my baby down. I breathe my baby down. And for the actual birth, that was very, very helpful, and it was successful and everything went well. However,
Oh,
just because,
goodness.
yeah, I know, thank goodness. I completely agree. But because of the trauma to those organs in the first, birth, the second birth, of course, it made it worse. But I'm in a different headspace about it now. I had a feeling that was very possible, and it is worse. It's not a 4. I don't have organs outside of my body, thank God. But did go from a 2 to a 3.5. So I'm encountering different problems from that than I had before. And basically the women's health physical therapist said it's like a TheraBand. Those muscles are like a sling, and if you think about a TheraBand that just has lost its stretch and it has just lost that connective tissue and the stretch to hold up that bowl of the pelvic organs. And so my hope and my why right now is by really focusing in on raw foods as well as herbs and, detoxification, that I can heal this. Even if it never goes all the way back up, I have a very strong feeling that it will heal to some degree. And the thing that was really bothering me about this, because of the knowledge that I have about detoxification, and because my rectum was prolapsed, I was having a hard time pooping. And I was just thinking, gosh, I'm not eliminating, and I can't jump or exercise because of this issue. I'm not sweating. The toxins are just being reabsorbed into my body. And I was starting to get pretty fearful about that. I was like, gosh, what's going to happen? Because this is not good. What can I do? And so long story short, sorry, it's a long story. What I ended up doing was I was just starting to feel like, gosh, things are not right. I don't feel the vitality that we've spoken about. I feel tired. I feel irritable. I feel, those things come along with motherhood anyways, but I had a deeper feeling that something's not right. I'm not getting these toxins out of my body. And I also started developing like a very large amount of cellulite, which we know toxins are stored in fat cells. And I just was like, man, this isn't good. So I did go see recently, I sent in my photos for an iridologist, and all of the symptoms that I have and things that I suspected were wrong, and glandular problems and all these things that I had just read about and kind of self-diagnosed, that's exactly what showed up in my eye report. And so I have a very strong why to get healthy right now. And of course, all along the way, I've eaten well anyways. I don't eat processed food. I don't eat oil. If I have cooked food, it's like grains or beans. It's never anything too bad. However, I know to get to the next level of health, I need to get up my game, basically. So that's what I'm doing now. And so being fully raw is definitely not as hard because I know why I'm doing it.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for opening your heart and just sharing all of that, because that's very vulnerable. And sometimes we sharing our story of why we're coming to raw, or initially maybe you came for a different reason, and our why can evolve. But right now, this is what's alive for you, and it's first of all, I really, really hope your body heals the best it can, and it sounds like you're giving it the best opportunity. And I really hope this works, and
Me too.
Another thing I wanted to comment about is the importance of what you're sharing. Really shows how diet is huge. Like the foods we eat is huge on our journey, and at the same time, it doesn't make us like a god that nothing can touch us.
Absolutely not.
It is a holistic journey, because it's, you can have the diet on par, but then like other factors like childbirth or, something outside of your control can affect you. And there's multiple variables to health. And so all we can do is just do what we can do to really control what we can control, let go of the outside stuff, but really do our best. Like you said, give yourself the support you need to like eliminate these toxins from, if your body's working differently, how can I align with it and harmonize with it so it can work optimally?
Absolutely.
Now you said you can't jump, so rebounding is out of the question, because I know that tightens the pelvic floor and stuff like that. So
absolutely no jumping. And that's the other side of the coin. I was so active, and I just can't be right now. I'm not giving up hope that I will never be able to run or jump or whatever. I believe that I will at some point. But yeah, I mean, getting that lymphatic system moving is so important to releasing toxins. And then here I am, I'm like, gosh, what the heck can I do? So my parents have like a inverted hanger thing. So I know that I've read you can do that. So I'm doing that. I just bought one of those like saunas, the infrared saunas where you like sit in the little tent. So I'm going to use that to sweat. I'm going to, just do everything I possibly can. Walking is okay, so I can walk,
That's great.
and Pilates is okay, so I can do that. But I feel sometimes that's why, like when I said this more when we first started, I'm grateful to be able to move my body. I really am, because I feel like I was in such a different place before. I was at top physical form, top physical shape. My body did everything I demanded of it. And now I feel I can kind of empathize with somebody who has never exercised, or with somebody who is, maybe severely overweight and their joints just don't move the way that they want them to. It's like you're stuck in this body or this vessel that is not able to do what your mind and your will want it to do. So not that it's that bad. It's really not that bad. Thank God I can walk. Thank God I can do Pilates. But, honoring those limitations, because if I push past it, my organs are going to fall out of my vagina. So let's not do that, So just, I feel like it is a very vulnerable situation. It is very humbling, and it is something that I've cried many tears over, but also something that I've come to a place of acceptance of. And I'm fired up to do whatever I possibly can to get to health. Yeah.
I just want to like supercharge your health dream.
Thank you. I take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe as like support, I just want to share that sometimes these things happen to us, and they feel like a curse maybe sometimes right when they happen, but I feel like ultimately you sound like you have the personality and the drive and the knowledge seeking and the wisdom to figure this out, possibly so that you can help other people. Like, the hero's journey, I feel like when you're sharing this, there's this part of me that's like, she's going to become the hero that shares how to do this.
Well, thank you for that
that's
encouragement.
just like on the light side.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. And I do, and that's why I'm sharing this. Like, who wants to go and tell people on the internet that your organs are falling out of your vagina and you've got some toxic problems because of it? And it's not something I've shared on YouTube, because I was like, how do you go about sharing this? But here it is, because I know that women who give birth, some may deal with incontinence, some may deal with so many things. And it's like this kind of shameful, corner of your life that you're like, well, I guess this is just who I am now, and I'm not going to tell anybody about it, because it is shameful and it's embarrassing. But if somebody else has had any inkling of that and they're watching this, then be encouraged. It's not just you. It's, like, I'm not superhuman. Like you said, Tina, like, I was taking wonderful care of my body, and it still happened. And I'm going to do my best to get back to where I can get.
Yeah. You have the creative solutions are going to come to you. I know it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
thank you for your courage, because I've never heard of this. I didn't know that could happen. And, anybody potentially going to childbirth needs to know what these kind of things are and I've never heard of that,
I know.
And then it's so strange how there's this whole taboo around talking about our genital area or like our sexual health, reproductive system. I've had to deal with that too. So I really recognize the courage it takes to talk about this. Like, I was passionate about raw foods for years and wanted to share the benefits I've experienced. And I was so scared and ashamed to even go publicly saying I have an STD or an STI was they're calling it now. Like, who wants to do that publicly and have people associate you with that?
But it's like you said, you share that, and then somebody else who has the same thing going on, they're empowered to be like, okay, it's not just me. Gosh, like, let me see, what is she doing? Like, let me find out. Yeah, it's very helpful.
It actually just shows how amazing raw foods are. Like, the healing benefits of raw foods and the lifestyle and just having health as your intention is so amazing, and I can't keep it secret. It's more important than any shame I could ever feel. And I feel a camaraderie with you in that, because you're sharing this vulnerable story, and it's like, this health journey is more important than just like some kind of maybe ego fear.
Totally. It
Yeah.
totally is. Yeah. And that's what I keep reminding myself of, in the moments when I'm like, gosh, I don't know, pasta, I would say, is the thing that I always would want if I'm not going to be raw. I just think about, okay, you're hydrating your cells, you're hydrating your tissues for your body to be able to do everything that it can possibly do to heal itself. Bodies heal from cancer, bodies heal from type 2 diabetes, bodies heal from IBS, bodies heal from Crohn's disease. Why is this any different? You're regenerating tissue by what you put in your body. You can do this. Your part is to eat the right foods and the herbs and detoxify your body and let your body do what it needs to do.
Yeah. And potentially any kind of, like you said, you're doing internal massages, you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, any kind of physical support therapy um, what, moving the lymph and everything that you need to do to keep yourself in top shape and
Exactly.
let time heal. Yeah, consistency is a big thing on this lifestyle, right?
Totally, totally. Yeah,
How,
because it's like, one point on that is, in short bouts of fasting or cleansing or raw foods, you see those differences like we spoke about earlier, but consistently doing it, you can see, I think, so much more. So I see some really sweet comments. Thank you guys so much. Hi, Tony. How are you?
yeah, I was
Um,
just gonna say everyone's fully on board supporting you.
Thank you
I'm
guys.
proud of you, girls. I think that's your partner, right? And sending you love from Croatia. It's beautiful and amazing as you always have been. Oh, Tony. So yes, we're all here. We're gonna be joining you and supporting you in your
Thank
journey.
you. Thank you guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
your virtual hugs.
So, I guess I'm really interested in hearing like what what do you feel is most important to share to the world about raw foods? Like, what's
I
the
think,
imagine me being the advocate and the devil's advocate and being like, what's the big deal? You know, kind of
yeah.
maybe sum it up. Like, who cares? You vegan? What why should I even try that?
Yeah, I think that, it is a big leap of consciousness, like you have said in the past. The big deal is that when we feed our body the natural foods that it's supposed to eat, is that it functions at its optimal level. And the big deal is that maybe it seems like a hassle now to learn and do this and figure out how to eat this way. But if you don't later on, the big deal is that you may be dealing with chronic disease. You may be dealing with medical bills and prescriptions and heartaches, heart attacks, not heartaches, probably heartaches too.
Yeah.
So my paradigm on all of that is I rather put in the work now and do it the most natural way that's possible, because I know our bodies are just a miracle for what they're able to do and what they're able to withstand, even if we're just feeding them absolute junk. Imagine what it can do when you're feeding it optimally. So I'd rather put in the work now than have to kind of be on a debt plan of having to pay it back later. So to me, that's a big deal. And I think, like we spoke about yesterday, people, you want to be happy, you want to be healthy, so that those are the least of your worries and you can go out and do what you're meant to do in this world. And when you have your health, you have the possibility and the capability to do all of that. And when you don't, it's just not there. So that's the big deal to me. Like, I want to do this. I don't want to, be in my older years and just be existing. I want to thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget that you can, pass on without a chronic illness. So you could
Yeah.
just pass on because it's the time to go
Mm-hmm.
and
Totally.
live a quality life with vibrancy, with vitality, with energy, with health, even if
Yeah.
maybe it's not. I've even seen 70 and 80, 80-year-olds walking on their hands. So
Yeah. I know.
walking and
Yeah.
standing. So it's pretty amazing. There are definite goals and aspirations that are inspiring when I see people like that. And it's just what's the potential, what's possible,
Hmm.
giving
Hmm.
ourselves this. Something I
Yeah.
like to remember is that, as a kid, I didn't drink alcohol, I didn't do drugs. I felt totally fine. Like I didn't have these urges to do all these things that like adults do. So when
Hmm.
I think about those times, I'm like, yeah, I went through the first time I had that thought when I was like in my 20s, so like the first half of my life, I didn't need that stuff. So why am I needing it now? And it's only
Hmm.
brought like a lot of pain, headaches, regret
Yeah,
or
totally.
or even
It's so
low
true.
energy and like inflammation. So, um, yeah, it's nice to have that comparison. Uh,
Hmm.
what do you feel like is the thing you love the most about this lifestyle
It's
with
really
rock?
simple. It's more simple than anybody could ever imagine. You might think, oh my gosh, that's complicated, or I'm going to have to carry lettuce with me everywhere I go. It's actually really simple. In the same way that somebody coming from a standard American diet thinks that cooking vegan is complicated, and then as a vegan, you turn back and look at a standard American diet and you're like, gosh, it takes so long to prep the meat, defrost the meat, do whatever you have to do to cook it. It's been so long since I cooked meat, I don't remember. Uh, all the things. And then it's the same way you look over here at raw and you're like, gosh, that seems complicated, but it's really not. Like I made dinner last night and it took me 7 minutes. I grab a piece of fruit and I eat it. Um, you know, it's just really simple. So
Simplicity.
yeah.
Yeah. We have a question here. And this person sounds so it says, I'll read it to you and then I'm just going to make one comment though. It sounds like you approach your eating based off health, not for animal cruelty. Are you a true vegan or do you just say that because it's easier than saying plant based? So, yesterday we had a whole interview about her switch to the vegan lifestyle. And just so you know, that she did talk about switching over initially for performance and aesthetics and also health mainly and vibrancy, and then as she got into her journey she also found out that about the ethics. But maybe now is a good moment to hear your take about how does animal cruelty play into your approach to this lifestyle
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what you feel
I
about
think
that.
that, I do definitely speak a lot about the health aspects of it, and that's where I'm absolutely passionate. And I get this question on my YouTube channel often, but I do want you to know, and whoever else is watching, absolutely the animal, uh, well, they're saying that it sounds like you guys are using the title vegan wrong, and I would like you to address this, but it's my platform. Sorry for being annoying. You're not being annoying at all. Like, it's a genuine, question. I absolutely am vegan because of the animal cruelty. I do not own leather. I do not wear shoes that contain leather. I have seen, all the things that anybody can Google out there about what happens in factory farms, what happens in situations where animals and their skins are being used for our fashion, our bedding, our cars. So although I am very focused on the health aspect of it, and that's what is super important to me, I am without a doubt ethically vegan as well, because I know that I don't want to put my dollar towards any of that, because it's really just not necessary. It's not necessary. And, you know, I see a squirrel on the road who just got hit by somebody, and it's like his little paws are. I saw that yesterday, and I started crying. It hurts my heart to see those animals in pain, and even if it's a squirrel on the side of the road, like I believe that there's no reason for us to violate animals to get our own gain. And I know what's going on in the oceans, and I see all the pollution and the overfishing and the farming and all the things it's doing to the environment. It's all tied in. Health is definitely the portion of my passion regarding eating this way, but there's so much more that I wholeheartedly believe in, and I'm definitely not just plant-based. I'm definitely vegan for the animals, the environment, and the health, for sure.
Yeah, it's good to hear that, and thank you for asking.
Yeah.
People may not know that, and then come and hear us talk and they think, oh, well, you're just focusing on the health benefits.
For
Uh,
sure.
do you actually care? And so I just also want to share that I really care too. And that's actually why I have this whole series. And I want to track different people's approaches, how they actually got to switch their consciousness. What was their switch? What
Mhm.
sparked them to the path first? Because everyone's different. And there's as many ways as there are human beings on the planet.
Sure.
So that's why it's so interesting to hear everybody's individual story. Because, like, my, for instance, my switch to veganism initially was intuitive. Then and then it was ethics. You know, after
Mhm.
researching, that's when I really jumped into veganism. And I've been doing that for 18 years now. So, yes, I had falters twice because of lapse in consciousness, you know, but it is it's definitely for ethics, and it's something I'm committed to, and that's why I want to share these stories so that people can hear that there's so many points of reference to come from. You know, it could be environmentalism at first, but then they become aware of the health and then the ethics, or some people hear
Mhm.
about the ethics first and then they're like, wow, actually, then they get in tune with their own body and learn self compassion and get into the health. And then, you know, bigger compassion for the planet and the earth, you know, environmentalism. So, yeah, I just want to
Absolutely.
share that all these areas are different ways of approaching it. And I think we can learn from everyone's story. There's always something new to learn from somebody.
I think
So,
so too, and I think that it's good that you're doing this series because there's always going to be people who identify with someone else's path, and maybe it sparks something that they never thought about. And I think it's only we're all just learning, we're all just going on our journeys the way that we go about them, and when all of those things come together, it's beautiful. And yeah, so everybody is different, and but definitely fully vegan.
yeah, yeah. And also, I just wanted to share that I'm also sharing these interviews from all different types of perspectives of maybe someone who just decided to become vegan for, oh, you know, they just switched, or someone
That's
who's been
cool.
on the path for 20 years or 30 years, or even someone who's been on the path, fell off, but then re-chose it. You know, I want to track these journeys. I want to learn from each person so I don't have to make the same mistakes, or even maybe they'll inspire me to do something new. And the same as raw, like, you know, someone who just tried it out for the, you know, vegan and raw are different, I think, in the sense that it's not like vegan where it's like this conscious lifestyle that you are harming the other animal. Like when you go from raw to cooked, it's not like the only person you're really harming, I think, is yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a switch of consciousness. I really think that
Mhm.
that's like the next level with raw, is like deepening your self-awareness, deepening your your commitment to self love, which is not just self love, it's love in general, because loving yourself is loving others.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we don't have anything to share, you know, if we're in misery. We're just
It's true.
sharing misery with others.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I'm curious about hearing people who tried 100% raw for a week to, like, oh, I just eat it half the time, or I am high raw, or I've been all raw and then I switched down to high raw and then I'm all raw. You know, my journey is not like overnight raw and then I stayed there forever. It's
Yeah.
like I always was incrementally growing, and then finally got really long term 100% raw, 100% raws, and then I had a lapse, you know, and I want to, you know, it's humbling, but it, you know, I want to share about those things too,
Yeah,
and
it's important to
yeah,
let
and so
people know that they're not alone, like those
yeah,
things happen.
yeah, there's a lot of assumptions, and I want to humanize it. I want to make it accessible. I want us to be authentic and honest and transparent, because I feel like there's a lot of fronting sometimes. I'm not trying to be negative, but
Yeah.
I just really want to promote authenticity and transparency, and we're all human, we all laugh or whatever, but we're all
Yeah.
working towards that. And I think that that's important. So,
Yeah, and I really do think that that's a quality that's lacking in a lot of our society today. So I truly applaud you for what you're doing and for the transparency and for the humanness of us all. We're not perfect. We don't set our minds to something and then just do it. And it's like, oh, well, that was easy. What's next? It's it's a journey and it's a progress, and you have no reason to feel bad about yourself or judge somebody else about where they are.
mhm.
Yeah.
Now we have a comment really shortly. It says, okay, so he's concluding that mostly eat plant-based, but it's a certain time I feel like having a good time party, I'll eat some cheese, like as if I'm using drugs, laughing out loud. Now, I'm just only reading that out loud because you mentioned cheese yesterday.
Yeah.
And you said that was one of the challenging points that
Yeah.
you could overcome. Maybe you could give some tips on maybe overcoming that and releasing it so that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that you can start to try to make different recipes of vegan cheeses, even if it's just something in a blender that you blend up with some nuts to make it nice and creamy, and you can make like a vegan mac and cheese. And then just maybe find a couple recipes of like cheese-ish sauces that are vegan so that you can plan in advance. If man, I really want to have cheese. I know I have these go-to things that I can either whip up or have made in my fridge for those times when I have them. And then when you do slip up, because you probably will, and you have cheese again, I know for myself, I can only speak from my own experience, those times when I had those things in place, but then I still went back to eating a piece of cheese, I started to taste the animal in it, and it really started to gross me out. And I found that I actually preferred the nut cheeses that I was making. So yeah. And even if that means there's a processed cheese that you have as a go-to as you get away from processed foods, and that's the case. A processed cheese that's actually, I think the best processed vegan cheese I've ever had is by Violife. So maybe look into that if you're out and about at a party and you need a piece of cheese. Try that one.
Have you ever tried miyoki or what is it? Miyoko?
Miyoko's, yeah.
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 And again, it's like not, that's not something you want to have all the time because it is a processed food. But if you're
Yeah.
struggling with cheese, have the processed cheese. My goodness, do it so that you can help yourself get over that hump.
Yeah. And you should know because you
Mhm.
have it sounds like you love preparing food. I know you have a cookbook, or is it a raw food book or a cookbook?
It's not raw food. I have two cookbooks. One is more like vegan comfort food from a few years back, and another one is based because when I work with a lot of the women that I work with who are coming from a standard American diet or obese, they just that overwhelm of not knowing what to do. How do I jump from point A and get all the way to point B? How do you do that step by step? So I had a real passion to make a cookbook that was geared towards people transitioning over to eating uh, vegan and eating whole food plant-based if they don't decide to become 100% vegan. And that's what that cookbook is. And like I said, I love cooking. I love sharing recipes, and I do a lot. And who knows, maybe in the future it'll be a raw cookbook, but I don't know. We'll have
I was
to
just gonna
keep that
say,
posted.
now that you're delving into your deeper healing work, and it sounds like you want to go more or all raw. Like
Hmm.
I'll be looking out to see if you create a book. I actually have
Yeah.
a secret passion of collecting raw food cookbooks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, I have like a whole little collection. I don't know why I like that, but I just love having them. I always had this image of maybe having a retreat one day or something and having people browse through them and see which
Hmm.
one they resonate with, because
Yeah.
everybody's different.
Yeah. I love
So,
that idea.
yeah, so you could be part of the
Yeah.
collection.
I would love it.
Awesome. So, well, it sounds like we're about to wrap up. Do you have any kind of last words about the raw food lifestyle or anything you want to close with?
Yeah, I would say that although I've dabbled in it, and then I have gone back to cooked food, or I've stayed high, I would say I've stayed high raw more than anything else. I think that you need to listen to your body, and I think you need to listen to where you want to go. And if you are never fully raw, it's okay. And if you are high raw, it's okay. And if you eat cooked vegan food, it's okay. And just listen to your body. What do you need? I really think that with the research that I've done and the way that my body feels, I feel just a very strong pull to being 100% raw. And I can see my future eating 100% raw. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be 100% perfect either. So be easy on yourself wherever you're at, and just keep striving for your health and striving for whatever you're struggling with. I think it's really important to move up the mountain of bettering yourself with kindness and love. So wherever you're at, I hope that's for you.
Oh. It's funny because it's kind of like this surrendering process that
It
I
is.
never knew I would think that way. And, thinking that and knowing through experience that I do vibrate and feel the best on a all raw diet. It's like, I had such internal battles with this, and it's like
So many, yeah.
surrender, release the limiting beliefs, and because it just feels so good. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
And I
really,
think that if they're just trying it out, and there's really no denying that feeling that you feel, and it feels so good. So then it's just a matter of, balancing it out. What do you want to feel? Do I want to feel my best, or am I okay with subpar? And, you go back and forth.
yeah, awesome. Well, I
Mhm.
really love your healthy approach. It sounds really loving and caring and, stable and supportive. And I think that people will benefit from hearing your words and your perspective. And
Thank you.
how can they contact you for any future offerings you have for your
Yeah.
future rock book?
Yeah, keep an
Can't
eye
wait to have
on, I know, right? I'm already like, I'm actually, without even like consciously doing that, I'm already like thinking, okay, I'm going to make a detox book. I'm like cataloging recipes that I've made that I'm like, okay, this would work for a juice book. This would work for a raw book. Anyways, it's just something that I'm always doing. Anyways, but yeah,
yeah.
veganmichelle.com. You can check out and see what I've got going on there. Vegan Michelle on YouTube. And then on Instagram, I'm probably the least active. But you can follow me if you'd like to at vegan_Michelle. So that's where you can find me. And you can always email me too if you have any questions. I talk to people all the time, veganmichelle@gmail.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you feel great and are inspired by Michelle's story. Thanks for
Mhm.
everyone coming
Yeah,
here
thank you guys.
and for anyone who's going to watch in the future through the recording. And my last gratitude is for, I'm trying to think of like my takeaway from this conversation. Um, do you have any takeaways you want to share about like what your
Yeah,
gems of this conversation?
I do, because I feel that you can relate with what I'm about to say as well. If there's something that you're dealing with that makes you feel super vulnerable and like, yes, there's some shame surrounding it, you just never know. Not that you have to go out to your rooftop and shout all of your issues, but you just never know who might be dealing with the same thing that you might be able to walk together on that journey with, or you might be able to be of help, just even if it's just like, hey, she's dealing with this too, and I can do this. Just we're on social media. I feel like it's just these curated things, and we're all dealing with our life in some aspect or another. So transparency and just not perfect and not sparkly and shiny all the time, but you will be sparkly and shinier if you eat raw foods.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Tina, for having me. I truly appreciate it.
yeah, I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And
Yes.
everybody have a beautiful day. Thanks for coming. Bye, Michelle.
Bye. Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.